Hey everybody, welcome to Ticket Stubs and Popcorn. I'm Peter.
And I'm Frank. How you doing? I keep looking at myself in the camera like I don't know why I'm swaying back and forth.
I don't know either.
Anyway,
today's performer,
okay.
when we picked out of the thing, it was a wonderful surprise. It's a director, and a director whose work we've definitely referenced, Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, I heard of him. Quentin Tino.
Quentin Tino.
Quentin Tino.
So, he came up as a
pretty
director. Great. We've actually already done him as an actor.
As an actor, so this will be better.
Yes, exactly.
A better representation of his work.
Yeah.
So
we had that
that'll be
to
good.
look forward to.
Yeah. So all right, before we do that though, and actually this is doing him made me think of this question. So, and this is kind of a weird question. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to frame it when I make the little bubble on our thumbnail. How I'm going to put it in a little thing, but I'll figure it out. So, do you prefer a movie that is more kind of like something that's sort of visually stunning, like it sort of really paints a visual tapestry, or something that's like very dialogue driven? You know, do you know what I mean?
I do.
So, and again, Tarantino's a great place to sort of think about that because he's gone from one extreme to the other.
I do wonder how you're going to fit this in on the little bubble.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So, So, yeah.
All right. Why don't we start with
director? Director Quentin
Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino. All right. So, my general sort of overall thought about Quentin Tarantino is that he has grown as a filmmaker from someone he's very great. He's great at writing dialogue.
Sure is.
Totally his strength and all that. If you look at his early stuff, that's where everything just kind of pops. And as he's gone forward, as he's progressed, his movies have become a little bit more interesting visually. All right. So my first one is going to be Reservoir Dogs. That is so like script-wise and dialogue-wise, that is so much is packed into all that dialogue, and you cannot beat it. It's just that scene around the table at the very beginning. You can't beat it. It is so about the tips and about the waitresses and everything, and they're just it's so great. And every scene in there, the dialogue is what it's quotable. It comes back to you. That's what does all the heavy lifting in that movie, and it is amazing. There are only a couple of things in that movie that are kind of stick out visually. When you've got the Mexican standoff at the end, that is one of them. When you've got Michael Madsen, not Tom Sizemore, sitting on the cop's lap, cutting off his ear. That's very visually that's interesting. And again, in addition to dialogue, Tarantino does a great job with music. So, those two things. And as you move forward, like I'm gonna jump up to Reservoir Dogs is one because I really love the dialogue in that. Does a really great job with that in Pulp Fiction. The next one, which I think is kind of a middle ground, there's great dialogue, not as much, but I think this is when, at least in my head, you start seeing a change from purely relying on his skill with dialogue to doing a little bit more with visuals, and that would be Jackie Brown. There's a lot of just sort of watching in Jackie Brown. There's when she's initially getting off the plane and that long walk. Yeah. There's that one scene when Robert Forster is he's sort of leaning on his car and he's just sort of watching, her walk down the thing, and it's just these great shots that he just lets play out. They're fantastic. There's that great visual when Samuel L. Jackson is going to kill Chris Tucker. And you don't see anything. You just see the car drive around. There's not a word spoken. It just comes in, and it's quiet. You know what's going to happen, but he's not using any dialogue as a crutch. Yeah. I defy you there's nothing quotable in that movie, really. There's, I mean, really,
maybe a couple of, but nothing.
But nothing.
Like
the only one that I can
famous
think of
stuff.
is like, don't touch my levels.
Yeah.
That's about it when he talks about the radio, and that's only a little. And I had to really think about that.
I do like. There is a Samuel L. Jackson line where he goes into the other girl's apartment and he says, "This is some repugnant shit" or something like that.
All right,
and that's one of the few too that I
I mean, when you get to Kill Bill, especially 1, he plays a lot with different visuals in that. And again, he takes different styles, and we all know Quentin Tarantino is a big old thief when it comes to.
He plays homage to a lot
most
of
definitely.
different.
It's a guy who loves cinema. He makes things his own, and that's fantastic. And again, there's less playful dialogue in Kill Bill than there was in like Pulp Fiction and in Reservoir Dogs. So you start to see him sort of peeling away from the dialogue-heavy stuff to more visual stuff, which brings me to what I think is his most stunningly beautiful movie just to look at, which is Hateful Eight. Mm-hmm. And given as much as I hate the winter and snow and stuff like that, those early scenes where you're just seeing huge vistas of, the snow-swept plains, and he's in the mountains. Yeah. It's absolutely gorgeous. And there's no, that's another movie where there's not a whole hell of a lot of quotable stuff coming out of Hateful Eight.
I agree. Yeah.
Right? But it just looks fantastic. And the way he makes inside the lodge or cabin or whatever you want to do, the way he plays that, and you've got characters placed around, his movies just look better and better as he's gone along. Yeah,
I agree.
They look better as he goes along. And again, there's less reliance on the dialogue. So, and that's one of the things I really like about him as a director. And you could give him crap for the homages. He's not very original.
I don't give him crap at all about it.
Right? No, me neither. Or the fact that he'll use certain shots over and over again. There's from the point of view of like inside a trunk, he does that. In Pulp Fiction, he does it in Jackie Brown, he does it in Reservoir Dogs. There's stuff that he'll repeat, which is fine. I mean, every director has their thing.
You can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are my 3. I mean, I talked about a lot of things. So let's just finally Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown, and Hateful Eight. And then there's a longer version of Hateful Eight out there. I love it because again, it just looks so good. And it seems like he's becoming a more patient filmmaker. I mean, and some of the shots in Django Unchained as well are very, very beautiful. It's good, the little montage you get where they're just riding around.
There's some great scenery to begin with. Like just the fact that he picked both of them, Hateful Eight and Django Unchained, he's visiting westerns, so you can do a lot in that great outdoor.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But my 3, and maybe this might even start to answer your question.
Okay.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Inglourious Bastards is also a good middle ground.
That one is.
Yeah, because that's got some
really
great.
Gets to there's a lot of good dialogue.
Yeah, I mean that first scene at the farmhouse is just the most tense. I sat there just kill him, just for the love of God, kill him, please, just do it. And so I think that's a good middle ground. But I'm sorry.
No. I would say this might answer your question that you posed. It's going to answer it to me, because it's going to help me think about the answer anyway. But I'll be honest, my 3 favorite Quentin Tarantino movies. Reservoir Dogs, so we agree on that one.
Yeah.
And it's just the dialogue in there is incredible. And just the overall scheme, the plan they have, wonderful, and as we see it unfold, or not so well unfold, as it transpires, and the fact that it's non-linear, the cutting back and forth.
And I really like when he does that. It's talking about the non-linear storytelling, where he's got Freddie the cop going back, and then Freddie's telling his trying to get weed story, which then goes back and which goes into another layer of storytelling, which is just and it's so seamless. Yeah. It's so well done.
And so the fact that he's giving us this story, Quentin Tarantino is giving us this story, which he's writing with such great dialogue, telling us the importance of dialogue because the guy has to get his story down.
Right.
And so he's telling him, no, you gotta tell the story, and they're telling us, no, the story has to work.
Right.
And it's just tremendous. And I think Reservoir Dogs is also it is my favorite Stephen Wright appearance in a Stephen Wright is probably the only one who has a speaking part in that movie who doesn't die.
Yeah, exactly.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, everybody who has a speaking line just about is dead. Not everybody. There are some people on the street who are like,
doesn't Mr. Pink? Wait, does everybody die? Everybody dies. Yeah, Mr. Pink dies because he runs
everybody
out.
Does. I'm pretty sure everybody does.
Yeah.
Who's got a sizable speaking part. Because there are some people who walk on the sidewalk or whatever, whatever. But I love Reservoir Dogs, and it's his first movie, and definitely a movie where when the movie was over, you're like, who did this movie?
Right.
It's like you had to like, no, who did this movie? And you're like looking at it, and you find out, and you're like, okay, wow.
Well, the first one of his, I saw Pulp Fiction in the theater a bunch of times. By the way, not a great first date movie.
Yeah, I can
just
imagine
saying.
that.
I mean, it's been out now for almost 30 years, so probably anybody
not your first date movie
it.
In the future.
So if it is a first sort of Netflix and chill kind of thing, don't do it. Don't do it. That was literally, I went on a first date with someone, and afterwards she's just like, look, you're a nice guy, but your taste in movies is a little too weird for me. Meanwhile, I'm like, are you kidding? That was amazing.
That was amazing, exactly.
So, and then while that movie was in the theaters, that became sort of a test. So.
Okay. Well, that leads me to my second favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Which is kind of a romantic comedy.
It's a romantic comedy, yeah. It's another one, as you were pointing out earlier. This one, dialogue heavy, driven by just intelligent speech throughout the thing. The characters all seem to be on the same page, which sometimes isn't the best thing, but everybody's got some great lines, great stuff. The story, although it's out of control for many of the characters, it's just moves perfectly for the viewer. Yeah. It's just a joy. Same thing, it's non-linear.
Do you think it would work if it was in a linear?
No. I think it would work, but nothing the way it works as well.
Not as well.
It does this way. Yeah. No, and it's got some wonderful characters. The acting is great. Obviously, after Reservoir Dogs, I think more people were welcome to the idea of, oh, I wouldn't mind being a movie done by this guy.
Yeah.
And so kudos to Tim Roth and Harvey Keitel for being in the first movie, because he didn't have a name going in. And they said, I'll do it.
Brought John Travolta back from the dead.
Out of Pulp Fiction, And it got Samuel L. Jackson in a whole, Quentin Tarantino universe to go. And just so I love this. We've talked many times about when we've done our other top 3 picks for, I can't even tell you how many actors, but Pulp Fiction has come up, and it's not just the wonderful acting performances. It's the way this movie is written and directed. It's one of the, I don't know. You know, we're getting a little older. We've seen the movie for many years. I don't know how. I got to be honest. I don't know if I were hanging around with 15 or 16, like how they're watching it. I don't know what they're seeing through their eyes now in 2022. So I don't know how it holds up perfectly for me. I don't know how it works for them.
It would be really interesting to see how someone who, again, because it is such an iconic movie, it comes up in pop culture all the time. People reference it and stuff like that. So it's like someone trying to watch Star Wars, and like no one is surprised that Anakin is Luke's dad. Sorry, spoiler.
Wow, did you just ruin it for all those people?
But like, there's really, I mean, we've talked about Star Wars before, but not to detract. But it's just like there's no surprises as big as when you saw Vader saying that he's Luke's dad.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I wonder if Pulp Fiction works now for someone who's never seen it or has no idea about it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, also particularly with like younger sensibilities, I don't know. I'm not sure. I hope it holds up for them. It works for me. But anyway, so that brings me to my third pick. And my third pick is what I always like to say. If there is a tender Quentin Tarantino movie, this is it. I love, and I've always loved Jackie Brown.
Yeah. That's his romantic comedy.
This one has got such great performances.
It's his love story,
and it's wonderful because it talks about love, about life, talks about aging, talks about a lot of stuff. But there's still one of the actually it's probably about as mean and as nasty as you'll ever see Samuel L. Jackson, and that's saying something.
Yeah,
he's scary. He's scary in this movie. And
the first time you watch that, he's scary. You don't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And you know the scene I'm talking about when he goes to see her. That's a tense scene.
Yeah. Oh, and she's a tough, strong woman, and you could tell she's keeping that stiff upper lip, and you could tell it's still scaring her. She's just waiting for him to leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. And hopefully she'll still be alive by the time he leaves. You know what I mean? That's you could tell. I just love this movie, and like I said, there's these performances in there. Robert De Niro's got this great little compared to the rest. There's that one, definitely Pam Grier front and center. Robert Forster, which I think is one of the most unsung performances out there. He's incredible.
I met Pam Grier.
Did you?
Yeah, I was at a hotel in LA.
Very good.
A million years ago.
Yep.
And we were just waiting for the elevator, and we get in the elevator. I'm just like, loved you in Jackie Brown. She's like, thanks. Her floor came up and she left. But it was just kind of, she was
loved her in Foxy Brown too, which is another movie.
But yeah, she was very,
no,
she was just kind of chill.
And so it's as tender as a Quentin Tarantino movie's going to get.
Yeah.
And it still gets across everything it needs to. There's still violence. There's still, this splashiness going on. But there is a great little caper going on in there too. Yeah. And it worked. And I just love it.
Nice bit with Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton and that whole thing because she's working the other side of it.
The police. So
it's
great movie.
I just love it.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, a very close fourth in those top three is
God,
is
so many.
Well,
what is yours?
My fourth one that almost but not quite. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I really enjoyed that movie.
But then that's another one. That again, that's his latest, right? Yeah, that's his latest.
Yeah,
and it is. One, If you look at it, there's a whole lot of just sort of looking at that scene where
there's a lot of what he's showing a lot because actually he's paying homage in a lot of ways by showing you stuff. So billboards, this and that when you're walking down the street, the movie theater, this stuff that's set there, and you know it's not today.
Yeah, that drive.
It fits into 1969.
That drive that Brad Pitt does when he leaves Leo's house, it's just like, it's great. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, so I love that one, but I had to go with my three. And if you think about my three picks, those are his first three movies.
Yeah. He did a bit. There was this movie.
It's just the way it is.
Did you ever see the movie 4 Rooms?
Yeah. That's been a while.
It's like, 4 different vignettes. And the one that he does, it's
right. He does one.
Yeah, he's one, and it's like he's got Bruce Willis in it, and Tim Roth is like the bellboy,
the bellhop, or whatever you want to
call it. Yeah. So, and that's really, really funny. That's a great one. I think you can actually find his whole little segment on YouTube for that. It's really funny. So getting back to the question about sort of big visuals versus dialogue stuff.
All right. I think in a perfect world, you're going to get this balance where you don't even realize what a perfect balance it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes between this movie had both, great dialogue and great visuals. A lot of times I'm not as impressed as I used to be with, big explosions, big special effects, but there is still some great stuff that you could put on the screen, obviously. There's things that you could say, like Quentin Tarantino can pull it off. He pulls it off well. Wes Anderson, kind of like in his own universe, pulls it off well, but he kind of makes his own little universe.
Yeah.
So visually, it's always got a beautiful little color, whole, like his stuff and the dialogue, and then depending on which character, the dialogue, more so than others. But there are movies where you just go, okay, I really like this movie, and then you think about it. Well, why did I like this movie? And sometimes it's because it is a lot more dialogue driven, like Glenn Ross.
Yeah,
I mean, there's outside of the rain falling all the time.
There's nothing to.
You're like inside 4 walls off.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is?
And it's so beautifully dialogue driven. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you don't. Well, I didn't sit there and complain when I first saw it. Geez, damn, if we could just go outside and see something, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, like that never bothered me.
No, because you're riveted by the conversations.
Exactly, didn't enter my mind. And then there's those other things which are almost like tone poems or something, where you get like, I'm gonna remember this movie and I'm gonna butcher its name, Koyani Squatsi. It was one of those where it was just this art piece, and there's no dialogue, there's no narration, and it's just all visual stuff about life in balance, or life out of balance.
Yeah.
It's like a Hopi word or something that meant that. That was like one of these art ones in the early '80s, like I remember watching in college, and so that one, it's beautiful. Look, it's just how people are interacting with, nature and technology and whatever. I don't remember. It's been a while. So this like stuff you could go one way or the other. It would be great to get the perfect balance. Right. I think when it comes down to it, I think I do rely. Or no, I shouldn't say rely. I appreciate, I guess, the dialogue a little more so than the scene, even though I do love a good-looking, pretty movie. You know what I mean? I think I lean a little more to a dialogue, either witty or just it doesn't matter. As long if it's good and it sound and if my ear says this sounds like a real conversation, this is genuine. That's what sells it, I think, more for me.
Yeah. I think that, and I'm the same way. I think that if there's like Hateful Eight, just since we're talking about Tarantino, Hateful Eight, I can't have that on in the background and just do other stuff. I need to watch that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? But Reservoir Dogs, I could just sort of have that going on, you know?
Oh,
and,
really?
And then just listen to it.
Yeah.
You know, and do other things and stuff like that. And that for me is sort of almost like the test. You know, if you could have something on in the background and still sort of like dig it and have a great time with it, fine. But there are just some things that you need to see. I think I do lean more toward the dialogue stuff.
Yeah,
that's just me. I appreciate that better.
Yeah.
I like that kind of writing. You know, I'm going all the way back to like His Girl Friday and stuff like that, where the quick banter, where the writing and then you know the acting and the directing is just getting that you know, I am a big sort of dialogue guy, so that's how
Mr. Blandings builds his dream
Oh my
house.
God! You know that's another one.
It's a great husband and wife. Same thing with the Thin Man stuff. It's a great husband and wife stuff, but also there's the friend. Who's in, and it's so natural, even though somebody's writing.
Yeah, but I think a lot of those early movies, you had writers who were coming off of like radio or stage plays where they couldn't rely, so they couldn't either radio or where there's no visuals and there's stage plays where there's like you got a lot of work to do if you're gonna make something kind of come to life.
Yeah.
So the dialogue had to do a lot of the work. So. And then I think that, you know, as you move into, you know, motion pictures and stuff like that, the, you know, visuals can tell a bunch of the story as well. So, but yeah, I'm more of a dialogue kind of guy myself. Yeah. So I recently rewatched When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
And that's another one that, because you did such a great job of like making New York look beautiful and all of that. It's great. Like that's one where as great as that dialogue is and those conversations are, it's really fun to like watch that as well. So, but I would probably lean more toward, you know, probably a good like, you know, 60-40, you know.
I would say that's about the split for me. Yeah.
So anyway, hey, who's in the bucket?
Hopefully a lot of good names. Well, actually, we know that there's still a lot in there.
Know that there are because we put them in there. Oh, yay. Yay!
Did you just say yay?
Yay!
We're going to get you a Pop-Tart after this one. Yay! And a balloon.
I would love a Pop-Tart right now.
Okay. Yay. Okay, wait. Yay!
Yay! All right. So, you know, yay. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening to the podcast and all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care.